How's it going, everybody? Yes, I am a talking orb of LSU goodness. With a water bottle that sounds like it's farting. Yes, everything I say sounds like it's a heartbeat. Okay, I'll stop that. We are here tonight for the LSU Ole Miss prediction analysis presented by LSUODYSSEY.COM, baby. Let's do this. Lane Kiffin it's Lane Kiffin, coming unto LSU, unto the eyes of Woodward cast upon him in Oxford as they honor Eli Manning. Of course, Arch Manning will be there watching both Ole Miss and LSU. Ole Miss legacy, of course, not going to Ole Miss, even if Lane Kiffin stays there for another decade. He's not going there. But it's still an interesting opportunity, an audition to show what LSU is all about for to Arch. And also, potentially, I'm wondering, I'm going to ask, is this Lane Kiffin's job interview for the LSU gig? Is this where, Lane Kiffin is basically saying this is my chance to basically say I'm the guy for the job, Mr. Woodward? Mr. Woodward, I'm the man. I'm the man for the job. That's the thing about Kiffin. I can almost see him doing that in an interview. He's so weird. 1 minute he's like, I'm going to be cool and look like I'm angry and like I'm a badass. These people hate me in Tennessee. Yeah, this is what college football's all about, bro. Or other times he just does these off the wall, crazy, no rhyme, no reason things. And it's entertaining. Can it win championships? I mean, Lane Kiffin's been part of championship staffs. There's no questioning that, obviously. Can he be a championship head coach? I think potentially with all the pieces and places and commitment resources that LSU has, recruiting abilities in Louisiana, recruiting potential nationally with the LSU brand. There's a lot that Kiffin could definitely do. Kiffin could do some definite damage as the LSU head coach. Is the Joey Freshwater stuff going to prevent him from contention for the job? I don't think so. It's not as explicit or as intense or as renegade as other activities by other head coaches across the board. But it's definitely like Kiffin will definitely have to calm that down in a wild town like Baton Rouge. But can he finally take down LSU here? I understand he's only been coaching there 2 seasons, but can he actually pull off that big win, take down Orgeron? I don't know. Matt Corral, he's not as banged up as everyone is pretending he is. He's obviously going to play, but LSU is going to hurt this guy. Fine if you want to run him, but Jay Ward's probably going to pop him. I hope Damone Clark does, but they're definitely going to try and mess with LSU's renewed defensive habits, our strong rushing defense against Florida. They're just going to watch the film. Kiffin's going to be pointing out everything that they've improved upon and say, okay, that's what Neil Farrell likes to do. That's how Neil Farrell Jr. likes to penetrate. And this is how we can stop this. And they're going to come up with a lot of different ways with that offensive line to mitigate LSU's newfound tendencies. So LSU have got to continue to adapt and change and come up with a good game plan where it's going to be about slowing down the tempo by making a few plays. Forcing it to 2nd and 10 is always a great play. Just a negative or no gain play on 1st down for a Kiffin offense it's a huge win. Can LSU consistently get those types of just random stuffs at the line of scrimmage? Those are what that's what win you games. When you chip away at the stone in a way. Can LSU chip away at that Ole Miss rushing game? Because it's dynamic. 5.4 per carry. They're absolutely loading up on LSU over the last 2 years. LSUODYSSEY.com, we posted an LSU Ole Miss preview, in-depth preview, going through all the major facts, stats, everything. The easily the most disturbing stat was how many rushing yards LSU has surrendered to Ole Miss over the last 2 years. 709 total rushing yards under 2 different defensive coordinators. So Aranda, his team in 2019, badly injured. Grant Delpit playing on one leg, Rashard Lawrence as well. 402 yards. 402 yards allowed in 2019. John Rice Plumlee went crazy. 212 in that game. But then we allowed 307 last year in the fog and in the misty rains. 307. 370 of those yards are just from the quarterbacks. Matt Corral had 158 last year. John Rice Plumlee was the 212. But, on the flip side, LSU has just racked up the numbers too. We all know about Kayshon Boutt's 308-yard massacre last year. That is more than possible this time around. That is what we said would prove to be the separation between the two teams is the passing game. Can LSU dominate through the air again? The last 2 quarterback performances from LSU quarterbacks against Ole Miss. Joe Burrow, 489 yards passing. Max, 435 last year. Both threw for 3+ touchdowns. That's savage. LSU can put up the numbers. And we've done well defending the passing game, too. We've held Ole Miss to under 250 yards, 212 through the air in 2020 and 2019 with 5 different Tigers catching 6 picks from 2 different quarterbacks. You had Jay Ward picking off Matt Corral twice last year, taking one to the house. Derbil Cox almost taking one to the house. I mean, even Todd Harris had a pick. Ollie Gay with that one-handed, disgusting haul-in. There's some crazy numbers from the last 2 games against these teams, between these teams. It's been unbelievable entertainment, unbelievable. You could call it sloppy, but it's 2 offenses imposing their will upon the defenses, and the defenses just trying to hold their breath, play catch up, hold their head above water. But here's what's going to prove to be the difference. I think Pelini's defense was so historically bad that even forcing 6 turnovers, we still only won by 5 points last year. With the Durante Jones defense, while it might not be massively, hugely better there's still stark improvements in comparison to Pelini. It's not even comparable. Far better improvements as a collective. If we forced something like 6 turnovers on Matt Corral, I would expect LSU to be putting this game away by the third quarter. Don't you think? Especially with how Max and this offense have been really proving to be capable of finishing off turnovers with points. I'm going to move locations back inside. Concerning the offense, the fact that Jack BECH has not been made a priority, targeted really much, just hasn't really been consistently, thrown the ball. He hasn't been a consistent presence in the offense like he was against Auburn, against Central Michigan, against McNeese. I mean, those were games where LSU's offense dominated the games. I get we dominated the game against Florida. I get it. But why are we taking out Jack BECH for Jack Mashburn? We can have both. We can have Jack Mashburn in there for the blocking, and we can have Jack BECH out wide. We need Jack BECH out wide. I don't understand why we feel this need to make it one or the other, especially when we don't have Kayshon Boutte. Like, if we had Kayshon Boutte, that's another thing. You have a scheme, you need certain receivers out there, whatever. It sucks that you can't put BECH in there, but if you need to take him out of the reps, for that reason, okay, it's a team game, all right. But when Kayshon Boutte isn't in, he's not part of the lineup anymore. Out for the season, you need that threat out wide. You have to put Jack BECH out wide. Not only because the attention he calls for, but obviously he's an unbelievable target that we're just not taking advantage of, not using, and it's losing. It's going to continue to lose LSU games if we continue to do this. It's bit us in the ass before. Against UCLA, we targeted him a few times, and we targeted him twice, but he had only one catch, and it was for like 18-something yards. Brilliant, simple crossing route, easy for Max, easy for Jack. He gets out of bounds, gets to flex, and then we never went back to that play again. Completely bit us in the ass. Look at what happens when you go with what works. Like against Florida, give Ty Davis-Price the football. 36 carries. We win the game. Ty Davis-Price sets an LSU single season record. So, it's give people the ball when these things are working. And Jack BECH against these Ole Miss DBs, I think he could have a Kayshon Boutte-esque performance. Thinking, even saying out loud that Jack BECH could break Kayshon Boutte's 308-yard performance from last year is crazy talk, right? It's crazy talk. I'm not saying he will, but I'm saying if he did, I won't be surprised. That is how freaking dynamic, explosive after the catch, and unbelievable of an athlete Jack BECH is. And simply put, without those targets, he can't make those plays. Without the quality of the play calling, without the quality of the targets, he can't make those plays. You got to give the guy the ball. You're not going to get the production if you can't give the guy the ball. 5 catches for 50 yards in the last 2 games. I mean, that's what Jack Best should be catching in a quarter. Feed the guy the ball. Let him go to work. He is explosive after the catch. I'm telling you, anyone who thinks he's a tight end, who thinks he's slow, is an idiot and doesn't know football. Jack Best is he's damn near unstoppable after the catch, even in his first year in college. We just haven't seen it enough. But when we have, it's hard to find people who can even tackle this guy because of his size. He is such a weapon. It looks like we have some comments in here. Daniel Glenn, Zuplon, go Tigers, man. Daniel Glenn says, Lane keeps Plumlee out in the flat now. Watch them run a trick play with him tomorrow. Yeah. LSU's staff ain't the only ones playing with gloves off. LOL. I expect everything in the kitchen sink from both sides. Me too. I think it's going to be an explosive, entertaining game. That's what we said in our preview on LSUODYSSEY.com. Definitely go check that out. Right there on the homepage. It's got a number of crazy stats in there between these two teams from the last 2 seasons. Just epic, bizarre numbers. You know, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. I want to finish up with the offense by talking about the running game. I think that's going to prove to be obviously the difference. The trenches, of course. You know, I feel like what will truly separate these two teams is the passing game and what LSU can do in the air. But what can really control the game is, of course, in the trenches. Because when you can control those trenches and start getting Ty's getting 20 yards, 15 yards, then 5 yards at a clip, 6 yards, 4 yards, but he's just getting positive yardage each time he gets the ball. Ole Miss is on the back foot, and then those crossing routes are open all night and day. All night and day. I mean, those crossing routes are usually open anyway, from what I can tell when I'm watching the film. We're just not taking advantage of them. Just throw the simple crossing routes, burn these guys, let Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., and especially Jack Best use their yards after catch ability. All of those guys average in the upper teens to the early 20s per catch throughout their high school years and are doing it for most of the time here as freshmen. Brian Thomas Jr., you take away those 2 flags, he has over 100 yards and his first ever LSU touchdown last week. These young men have been impressive even in short bouts. Malik Neighbors was injured through the first few games of the season, just coming back into his groove. He, looks like he could be explosive at any time where you get him the ball and he can be mazing his way through guys. He's got this really just Justin Jefferson-esque vibe to him and Deion Smith has this same quality to him as well, where there's not really anything specific that it's like, that's what they do. That's the best thing. It's almost just this all around type of thing where they can just do it all. Where it's like, oh, yards after catch. Okay, if the team needs it, I got you. You want me to be a possession receiver and get that big 3rd down? I got it for you. You want me to go on a post corner route and kind of out jump this dude? I got you. Like, it seems like they're that kind of guy. Where Brian Thomas is kind of more of a specialist, an aerial specialist, I feel like at the same time you can also deploy Brian Thomas's yards after catch ability over the middle because he was burning people at Walker High. He is burning people at LSU already. Use it, Jake Peets. Use it. I mean, use it or lose it. With Ty Davis Price running the football, I want to see this guy being given at least 25 carries. I know, and I think it's smart to mix in Corey Kiner, to mix in if Armani Goodwin's healthy, I don't think he will be, but hopefully he is. Josh Williams a little bit here and there, but you got to get TDP going again because you see what this young man can do. I've been telling you people all season long. I've been telling you all the last 3 seasons long. Ever since we've started writing LSU stuff, ever since Ty Davis Price came onto the scene as a young freshman, I loved what he was bringing to the table. I was a big fan of Clyde as well in the 2019 season. I know that Ty has certain Clyde-esque qualities to him while being his own back. He's definitely more of a power back compared to Clyde, of course. Clyde is a speedster, Warwick Dunn-esque type of guy. And Ty would be more of a Jacob Hester in comparison to Clyde. But at the same time, you saw what Ty can do. It's not you're trying to say he's not fast when he's burning people for 287 yards. I get there's gaping holes, but I get that there's a lot of times he also had to create a lot of those plays too. You're watching him see Marlon Martinez get stuffed back, so he makes some sick move, gets out of these ways, and goes for 34 yards up the sideline. You got to get Ty Davis Price the football. This defense for Ole Miss are allowing 4.4 yards per carry, which is, right up about what Ty was averaging before the Florida game. He was averaging 4.3 on the season per carry before the Florida game. I think it's no question that Ty goes for a third straight 100-yard game at least, and scores a touchdown at least. And, Ole Miss are allowing 198 yards per game on the ground. If LSU cannot take advantage and they let Ole Miss's defense somehow escape and continue to give Lane Kiffin's offense, Matt Corral, that ball, LSU are going to be behind 2 scores most of this game. Which is not where we want to be. Not at all where we want to be. So it's all about controlling the tempo. Whichever team controls the tempo wins this game. Whichever team. Another comment here from Daniel Glenn. Ole Miss can't stop the run. That means 82, not 80. Unfortunately, unless they go with 2 tight end sets, we like everybody eats mantra. Too many for. Well, dude. Here's the thing. BECH is not a tight end. Okay, especially with Keyshawn Butte out as well. You can't just take a weapon like that off the field. It's foolish. It's absolutely foolish. I don't care if he's a tight end, receiver, a halfback. I don't care what you classify him as. A player like that, you do not take off the field. You do not take a mismatch like that off the field. A guy who takes attention off the field, who takes numbers off the field, away from where you're wanting to run the ball, from where you're wanting to attack. Or if you just want to go straight at him because he's so damn good, he's almost near unstoppable, even as a freshman. We haven't seen him back down from a challenge yet. We haven't seen him screw up in the face of adversity yet. When there's been a moment for Jack BECH to shine, he has delivered. I've only seen him, not looking at his best when the passes have been completely errant. Max is having, Shanahan blown up, and Max is having to throw the football with Shanahan stepping on his feet. And so the pass is, 10 feet above Jack BECH, and he's still getting close to the ball. I mean, you got to have a guy like that on the field, because if that ball is anywhere near BECH, he's getting it. I'm telling you, he's hungry. I'm telling you, he's physical. He's fast. He's underrated. And he needs to be given every opportunity to go up there and get it. Daniel Glenn says, if 82 can catch it all, Pete's could use the 2 tight ends set to great effect, bait and switch. Well, I mean, once again, you can deploy Mashburn in tight. which we should definitely be playing Jack Mashburn as well. But just have Jack Bech. If you want to have Jack Bech start in tight at first, fine. But then just motion Jack Bech out wide. Carry that linebacker, carry that safety out wide, get that mismatch. That's what I would do. Is I wouldn't just set Jack Bech out wide. I would put him in tight, motion him out wide, so that it's just basically screwing up Ole Miss's defense completely. So then it's like, okay, if we got that mismatch, then we throw it Bech's way. Or if Bech motioning out wide creates that huge little crease right there that gives us that hole, it gives Deculus that little bit of space with the defensive end, we can absolutely run right through that alleyway. So either way you look at it, Jack Bech, you just have to have him on the field. Daniel Glenn, or maybe put in one of the backup tackles as a tight end. Be so shit to see Big Chemo smacking fools for field. LOL. Play everyone. Oh, downfield. Play everyone. Well, I mean, yeah, I want to see a lot of guys be given a chance. Why the hell not? I think that's the best way to avoid transfers and that type of thing. LSU has nothing really to lose. Well, bowl game contention, obviously, which is a big deal. I feel after not making one last year, it would be a big embarrassment for LSU as a program to not make a bowl for a second straight season. Obviously, we were prevented from making it, but we wouldn't have qualified for one anyway, I don't think. But still, there's so many ways to attack this porous Ole Miss defense. But like I've said before, LSU, they have to separate through the air. Control on the ground, separate through the air. Finish through the air. I want to see us, absolutely destroying and taking these Ole Miss corners to town. If Keishawn Butte can put up 308 yards, why can't Jack Bech put up 150? There's no reason why he can't. But moving on to the defense, I think the offense will be just fine. I think Max Johnson that's okay. I'll say this before I move on to the defense about Max Johnson. If Max Johnson goes off, LSU win this game, no question. Because Max, it seems when he goes off for at least 3+, 4 touchdowns, that type of territory, LSU are almost undefeated, I think, except for the UCLA game. It's when, he's getting so much pressure and there's just nothing out there, just no one for him to throw to, nothing going in the running game. Just everything is on his shoulders. He's making poor throws as well. Then he's starting to doubt himself. He's starting to question the play calling. Everybody's questioning the play calling. Things aren't together. Offensive line is playing like poo. That's when LSU, we go the way of our quarterback. I think Max Johnson, against this Ole Miss team, just like last year, I think he knows where to attack him. I think he's ready to attack him. I think last game was a great mental break for him. I think last game he had a nice mental break where he was able to hand tie Davis Price the football, kind of sit back and be able to not just have to say, okay, I have to throw 400 yards and at least 3 or 4 touchdowns for us to even have a chance to win this game. Because I feel like, knowing Max and his mentality, he would feel that sense of responsibility. I have to win this game for my team. And it wouldn't be him doubting his teammates. It would be him saying, this is my job as quarterback, is to literally go out there and capitalize, maximize, finish, get those points. And so I think Max will feel a sense of duty of let's finish Ole Miss off here. Let's take them out of the equation. I think he remembers what happened last year. I think he will grow from any mistakes he made in that game, which he didn't make really many at all. I think maybe he threw an interception, but he had 5 overall touchdowns in that game, 2 rushing, 3 passing, nearly 500 total yards of offense. I believe, he would have been obviously SEC Freshman of the Week, of course, if Butte hadn't gone off. But that's just how historic that performance was, both him and Butte going off. Can Johnson get in sync with someone like Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., or Jack BECH? Can this receiving core with Max explode just like last year? I think there's a great chance that they can. But Jake Peetz has got to – here's the thing. I'm worried about him leaning on the run so much and in the wrong places and times that LSU screw up drives and blow drives up because we're not aggressive enough at the right moments. I want us to lean on the run, but I want us to also establish our foothold, our dominance, our superiority in the passing game. These DBs need to know that they are no match for our receivers, our tight ends. Even throwing the ball to Ty Davis-Price, who actually has a great pair of hands, had an uncalled touchdown against Arkansas last year, a diving touchdown that was effing brilliant. He also had a great – I think he had like 20-something catches in the Joe Burrow in 2019 with the Joe Burrow. Basically was a weapon out of the backfield at times as well, too. I think LSU need to exploit that. Maybe fake giving him the ball on the counter tray, let him, continue the rushing route, but then fold out underneath and let Max dump it off to him completely in the flat. I think you could absolutely burn defenses left and right with that, especially this porous Ole Miss defense. Basically like a little rushing play, just letting a little dump off, but it's like a Kansas City Chiefs type play. I love it, and they're very effective plays because immediately upon making that catch and turn, your running back, if he has any speed at all, which Ty Davis-Price does, he's got 5-6 yards at least, and that's if some guy tackles him immediately, which rarely happens on those plays. Usually it takes at least 3, 4, maybe 5 seconds for defenders to wake up to the play, and the first down is already passed. The first down marker is already passed by that time. So, how many points can this offense score? I think we can easily drop a 40 or 50-point game. Obviously, we just dropped 49 points without all these guys, these certain players, like it was nothing against Florida. And we're playing a defense that's just as porous, just as pooey. I think even worse. There's a few star players. There's a DT on Ole Miss, Sam Williams, I think his name is. I'm not sure of his name right now, but that guy, he's a freak. I think he's a great player. He's a high-impact player for Ole Miss. He's someone who could give LSU some major problems up front, especially Liam Shanahan. If this guy is breathing down Liam Shanahan's neck all night, Max could have some trouble. He could have this guy stepping on his feet, Shanahan stepping on his feet from getting blown back by this guy. So Liam Shanahan's definitely going to need some help in the blocking game. Definitely going to need some help. But as for the team, as for this offense, they should be able, more than able, to put up at least 40 points on this team, on this Ole Miss porous Ole Miss defense. Like, I think if we only scored 38 points, it would be like a kind of controlling game where LSU would win like 38-13 or something, where like LSU grind it out, but at the same time are dominant. I don't see that type of game, though. I see a slop fest, a crazy, just madcap game. But I also see our defense making plays, which is why I'm talking about the defense. We got to change our tendencies because Kiffin he's just going to exploit those on film. He's going to look at what guys have, I think I already said this earlier in the video. He's going to look at what guys have improved on and say, I'm going to pick that apart. And I think I wrote this also in the preview, where he's going to adjust to what LSU did against the rush last week. So LSU totally have to change what they're doing. Totally have to have some new tricks in their pocket, play some new guys, have some new guys coming off the bench. Phillip Webb needs to be rotated into the game. You have to play Phillip Webb. This dude, he's like a BJ Ojolari clone, but he's even better in coverage. Like he's even better in the coverage game than Ojolari. It's weird. You can drop Phillip Webb into coverage, and I've seen him make plays one-on-one against receivers. It's weird. Granted that it was at the high school level at Sugar Hill, but at the same time, the Georgia native is an impressive athletic specimen. And when we saw him against McNeese State, limited time, 3 pressures, 1 huge mammoth quarterback hit, you got to play this guy more. You got to give this guy some time out there. You got to give this guy some reps. Savion Jones, freshman, he was impressive as well against McNeese State. He had a brutal quarterback hit on Cody Orgeron. But this defense up front, Neil Farrell, I think Neil Farrell Jr., he's raising that NFL stock every rep he takes. Neil Farrell Jr., what an absolute beast of every opponent's burden. This guy is he is in the backfield 3/4 of the game, I swear to God. I'm counting his backfield disruptions just like I used to count Tyler Shelvin's, which tells you a lot. I wasn't even thinking about counting Neil Farrell Jr.'s backfield disruptions. I was thinking about counting Mason Smith's, but Neil Farrell Jr. was just loading him up, and so I just started counting each one. He had 6 against Florida. He was all over that rushing defense. Only a half tackle for loss, but he made 2 big stops in the backfield and a bunch of plays that he blew up in the backfield that made it past him, but were stopped pretty quickly because of his abominable presence. Neil Farrell Jr., great player. I think his playmaking on defense is something we need. This is a game for BJ Ojolari to shine, though, because Ole Miss are missing some key offensive linemen due to injury. Big and some great blocking tight ends too are missing as well. So there's every chance for LSU to get some great edge pressure. Mason Smith, I think he's still played at defensive end right now. I'm not sure exactly if they've moved him back to DT. Whatever. Mason Smith could have a big game here too. I would love to see him get at least 2 sacks on the day. Mason Smith, I think he needs that continued production. He's that type of player. I want to see him in there getting some more plays. Like he had a sack last week, following up his 3-sack game against Cody Orgeron. But there's one player I also think to take some pressure off the defensive line, have the defensive line drop back a bit while you have Sage Ryan blitzing the quarterback. Blitz Sage Ryan. And blitz him often, and blitz him plenty. Let Sage Ryan attack the quarterback. No one will see it coming, no matter how big the offensive tackle is, no matter how short you think Sage Ryan is. The shorter the guy is to stop and the faster he is, it's like Tyrann Mathieu coming off the edge. Okay? Let Sage go to work. Let him create on defense by making big plays. Let him attack Matt Corral. Let him come off Matt Corral's left side and go right for that left shoulder, right arm going for that ball. That's what I want to see from Durante Jones. Have the cojones to call that. Blitz the freshman nickel off the edge. It would be the sickest play call ever, and Sage would cause havoc. LSU have playmakers all over this defense. You know, we forced 7 total turnovers in the last 2 meetings against Ole Miss. If we just generate 3.5, if we say get 3 picks and then force a fumble but don't recover it, if we just do that, I feel like LSU should have every chance to win this game. But then there's things like, injuries, absences. I mean, if LSU get any more injuries, I swear to God, it's getting exhausting. Would more key injuries mean an LSU loss? I mean, how many more bodies can LSU put out there? It's getting ridiculous. We cannot afford to lose offensive linemen. Cannot afford to lose defensive linemen. We can't afford to lose anyone in the secondary, receiving core. We can't afford to lose our quarterback because we go to a freshman. I mean, there's holes all over this team that we need to protect, but we also have to win this game. Natalie Vittori, my dear LSU brother, I'm afraid that the fire of Orgeron may affect negatively on the players. Have some faith, Natalie. I disagree, my sister. I disagree. Are you in Italy, Natalie? If you're in Italy, be safe. Please be careful. I hear there's stuff going on with volcanoes and stuff. If you are in Italy, I got some good friends who are from Italy. My buddy Davide, who I used to work with, great guy. I got mad love for my Italian brothers and sisters, especially you, Natalie. You're always watching in here. Thank you so much. I really want you to be safe if you are in Italy. I really don't think it will affect negatively for the players at all. I think it's actually been a relief for the players. I think the only really thing that's going to negatively affect the players is just the absences of other players, guys that make other guys better. Then again, we've kind of found a new groove and new players that are kind of fitting in, new formations, new lineups that are kind of working for LSU. Dwight McLaughlin out there, Sage Ryan coming in now. After 6 games out, his 7th game is starting against Florida, and he handles himself beautifully. You got to test Corral, test that injury. And I think having random people blitzing him from all sides at random points, you don't have to rush for every play like a bonehead. You can rush 2 up the middle, drop both defensive ends randomly, and then blitz one of the nickels. Just like completely, just what the hell Christmas is going on here? Like just imagine that movement. Both defensive ends who are just hungry pass rushers just drop and then either widen with the receivers' routes or just deepen. And then you've got both defensive tackles just flying at you from the front. And then you've got either from the left or the right at random at different times a nickel just blitzing you who is a state track champion who set state records in track. Like yeah, there's a lot of things LSU can do defensively against Corral to win this game. And for a prediction, I was looking at this game and I'm thinking, I don't want to just predict LSU to win this game, blah blah blah. And I never really go into games thinking, I'm going to predict LSU to win this, or I'm going to predict this team. I go into games and I'm just looking at them and I'm like, who's going to win this? How do I feel about this? Who has a chance here? And I got to be honest with you, I really felt like Ole Miss was going to win this game. Everything in my body was telling me Ole Miss win, Ole Miss win, Ole Miss win. But when it came down to it, I was like, you look at the injuries that really, really hurt. Ole Miss in comparison to LSU. That's more impactful than what LSU is missing. I think the players LSU are missing. Yes, it hurts the team, of course, but for Ole Miss, it is just critical. And their quarterback is hobbled. They don't have a defense. LSU are improved on the rushing game. Our defense are making plays where it counts. LSU can pass the football. If we can generate some, 100-yard receiver out there, score some touchdowns in the passing game, LSU should win this game. But it's not going to be by much. That's my prediction. Comment your predictions, baby. Tell me your predictions. I think LSU are going to take down Ole Miss. I think it's going to be, of course, a crazy shootout. A few fumbles, a few picks. I think Sage Ryan is going to force a fumble. I'm going to predict that. I'm going to predict Sage Ryan forces a fumble. I'm going to predict that Ty Davis Price runs for 161 yards, 2 touchdowns. I'm going to predict Jack BECH gets 78 yards, 1 touchdown, 9 catches. I'm going to predict that Brian Thomas Jr. catches 2 touchdowns. Oh, wait, no, that's too many. Yeah, that wouldn't work out because it tied to... No, yeah. Yeah, that would work. Thomas Jr. with 2 touchdowns as well. I just feel like in the red zone, especially if LSU want to actually kill off drives, they'll throw him the football. But I think we're going to control the game on the ground, but I think LSU separated in the air because we have dominant athletes. These freshmen are going to show out. These freshmen are stunners, and we need to put faith, trust, and belief in these guys. Give these young men the football. Just like on the defensive side, trust Sage Ryan to make those plays. Trust Mason Smith to make those plays. And, rely on guys like Jaquelin Roy, too, at DT. We need to see him more. I want to see him make an impact on the game because, we saw that strip and fumble recovery earlier this season that was just disgusting. I think he is totally capable of that on any chosen rep. He's just that freaking good. We haven't seen it enough this year because we just haven't seen him on the field for whatever reason, mostly coaches' decisions and stuff like that. But, I believe LSU is going to take down Ole Miss in a wild game. Not because I'm an LSU fan, not because I back LSU, not because blah, blah, blah. I just think there's a certain vibe around this team where they're playing with house money. And there's a certain freedom in that, which I hope continues at LSU because it wins games for some reason. I hope there's this type of vibe on the team where it's like anything goes. Let's just do it all out. Let's just go, just full all out. Because it seems like LSU always hold back something, in the last few years. But the last two games of 2020, and then you saw against Florida, where LSU just unleashed themselves, opened the floodgates because it's panic, desperation, backs against the wall. We've seen greatness. We've seen record-setting greatness. The all-time LSU receiver, Kayshon Boutte, last year against Ole Miss. And then Ty Davis-Price, the all-time single-game rusher in LSU history against Florida this year. So there's a parallel there. Why does LSU have to wait for 3 losses to start, calling plays with some type of urgency? Playing, going for the jugular on offense. I just don't understand it. But whatever. Hopefully LSU will pull this out. Natalie Vittori says, I hope to see another show by the super player known as Tyrion Davis-Price. Go Tigers. That is awesome. I am totally going to tell his mom, Stacy, about this video. That is so cool. I'm going to show Stacy this because I hope to see another show by the super player known as Tyrion Davis-Price. Go Tigers. Yes. Let's go, Natalie. Let's go. Everybody, thank you for joining me. It's been interesting and definitely eye-opening, delving into the sickening, twisted vision of Lane Kiffin. Thank you for joining us. Good night, and as always, go Tigers. This has been a presentation by Uninterrupted Writing Incorporated. Are you still here?